We're so glad you're here tonight. My name is Buck Gilcrease, and I'm the superintendent here in Alvin. And I'm excited to meet you guys. And if I haven't had a chance to meet you personally, I hope to before the night's over with, and we'll visit. Don't quiz me on names just yet. I'm working on that. So after meeting the staff, that's about 2,500 names just there. So I'm working through that. I want to welcome you and thank you for helping us serve in this capacity. A couple things about me that you're going to find as a community is that I'm going to solicit your input as much as possible. And it truly is a conversation because I truly do want to know what you think about a lot of things. And so if you do answer the phone to serve on committees, I will tell you this, that it will be a chance to have conversations about what's going on. So this is one such of those committees, and we're going to talk a little bit about what this committee is going to do. And so here's kind of where we are tonight. We're going to try to honor your time and move through this as quickly as we can with the information. However, if there's any point in there where you want to stop us and ask questions, please feel free. So why are we here? Well, not to push the button, the wrong button. So why are we here? And that is because we're going to have some conversation about our facilities. We're going to have some conversation about our growth. And then we're actually going to, that's all our part of the conversation. And then we're going to turn it over to you and let you have conversations about what it is we do from that point. As far as an outline of the, either I'm not smart enough to use this or something. There we go. Aim this way. Okay, all right. I'm just aiming the wrong way. That's my problem. Just a little bit about us, and you guys know this, but with growth comes a lot of expansion. The fine arts expansion, especially even one of the things that I found really cool is the orchestra program, as far down as it goes. That was amazing that night at the board meeting when those kids came and played. It was a cool thing. The middle picture there talks about the fact that one of the areas that we're really bragging about is that our graduation rate has gotten really higher than I've seen in a lot of places, and so very proud of that. The dropout rate is extremely low, something to celebrate. The business office actually got several awards, and the last one we got was from our state rep, who talked about the pride he took in being able to say on the floor of the House of Representatives that not only Texas, but Alvin, Texas proud of Alvin ISD because it showed our transparency and what we're doing and some of our budgeting practices. The other day, if you were able to be there at the Bill Hassey Elementary School groundbreaking, what a special day that was. It was a great day. And then some of the CTE expansions that we have going on. I spent the day Friday with our CTE staff, and boy, there's some really cool things going on with career and technology education, and the things that technology is able to give our kids today is amazing. So what is the role of the Citizens Advisory Committee going to be in this conversation? You guys are going to lead this. This is going to be the last night that you have people standing up here doing this. The rest of these meetings will be done in a meeting format around tables with a lot of open conversation. Well, one of the things that we learned in drawing some school boundary lines is that there's the named committee, and that committee is going to take part in the conversation. Then there's going to be resources, which will be the district staff that won't necessarily serve on the committee, but they will be there to answer questions. And then we are also going to offer a gallery at each of those meetings. So people that aren't actually named on the committee but are interested in seeing what is going on will be able to attend the meetings and listen to the conversation And then at some point in the evening, we will take questions from them in written format and throw those on the table with the committee as that particular meeting has gone on. I think I kind of answered both 3 and 4 with that, but I want you to know this, that as a parent in the district, and I come at it from that point as well. My son, will be here as soon as we can get him here. We have a lamb that is going to take a one-way trip to San Antonio here in a few days, and thankfully we will. It's been a long journey with that lamb, and it's time to sever that relationship. So, but once that happens, and he's got a couple of other commitments that he's made with some programs up there, and so we're trying to figure out what that transition is. But when he gets here, just so you know, I mean, he's going to be a student in the district, and so some of the conversations that we're going to have are going to be coming from me as parent to parent, from me as community member to community member, and wanting to make sure that we make good decisions for the district as a whole. With that, Pat, are you ready for? You have to point it this way, by the way.
Good evening. I'm Pat Miller, and this is Jeff Cuvion, Director of Building Programs, and we want to share with you, the community, a few things about currently about the demographics of Alvin Independent School District and the existing 2013 bond election that you so graciously approved to make sure that our kids are well taken care of. And so I'm going to advance to several slides here. Alvin ISD, this picture is to help you understand exactly how wide-ranging this school district is. It's significantly a pretty good-sized district. At 252 square miles, Alvin ISD is bordered by 8 other school districts, and the dynamics of our school district as it's growing, and it is actually beginning to see and has been seeing fast development is that up on the northwest side, as all you know, we have high density urban development going on, and down here in the bottom section of Alvin Independent School District, we have a significant amount of undeveloped rural land still. Alvin ISD actually is from, at the longest point on a diagonal straight across, is almost 30 miles across from one side to the other. So that's how large Alvin Independent School District is. In the greater Houston area, Alvin Independent School District here in the last year has been noted as one of the top 10 ranking school districts insofar as annual starts of new homes. That was even with the decline in our economy and prior to it actually kicking back into at the level that we're seeing it happen now. This is pretty touchy, Doctor, you're right. This slide is just a little bit of an exhibit to show you what where some of the growth is, where some of the major subdivisions are. We have many more active and on the books with some of the cities, subdivisions that are being platted. These are the top 12 that represent future lots. And these 12 alone represent some additional, yet to be developed 15,000 single-family residential lots in Alvin ISD. Our past 5 years have seen a steady stream of growth as we've been increasing by a little over 4% on an annual basis. Again, even with the decline that we saw in the economy, we still continue to grow at a pretty rapid rate, adding over 3,500 students over that 5-year span. The next 5-year span holds similar and even potentially possibly a little bit faster growth, as they were projected by our demographer to continue to grow at 4.5% annually, and by the year 2020 to have 26,000 kids in Alvin Independent School District. So our current enrollment is a little over 20,000, almost 21, just about to top out at 21. In the next 5 years, we are projecting another 5,000 children in 10 years, another 11,000 plus students, and by 2025, we will have grown to 32,000 students. In the year 2020, we had about just under 11,000 students. So in 15 years, you can see that we have experienced the growth. This is not based upon all forecasts, it's based upon actuals. And with the amount of land yet to be developed, the proximity to Houston, proximity to the Port of Freeport and Dow, and some of the things that are happening on the south of our school district, the demographer feels pretty confident that that growth will continue to happen. The significance of this particular slide is, again, just to reach out and kind of give you a preview of what Alvin Independent School District will become at build-out. We still have a significant number of undeveloped acres. It's projected by demographers that we'll have another in excess of 26,000 acres in Alvin ISD that will be built out as residential when Alvin is fully built out. What we don't know is when that will be. We do know that it will happen. That's pretty much a given based upon our location here in the greater Houston area. Significant is that the total build-out when Alvin ISD sometime in the far future, and of course we're not planning today for those schools that are out 10, 15, 20 years ago. Our vision needs to be a little bit closer up here in the next 3 to 5 years, but build-out, Alvin ISD is projected conservatively to have about 56,000 students in our school district that will serve. So what that means is that build-out, currently we're working right now on elementary number 16. We'll have over 35 elementary schools in our district. We have 6 junior highs. At the point in time of build-out, we'll have over 12. We're working on high school number 3, Shadow Creek High School, and at build-out, we'll have over 6 high schools in Alvin ISD. So the potential is significant, and the potential and the student growth is real. This is a snapshot of elementary enrollment at Alvin ISD. And what you see, without going into a lot of detail, is that the red and yellow cells identify schools and campuses that are at capacity. The red actually identifies that they've actually breached temporary capacity. As most of you probably know and have seen, living and working, driving throughout Alvin ISD, a significant number of elementary schools have temporary buildings. Temporary buildings are our bridge to get us to the point where growth has come at us fast and furious, and we don't have the next elementary up and online and occupied just yet. Driving down a little bit further, this identifies the high-growth elementaries. Primarily, these are the elementaries that are on the northwest corner of Alvin ISD, Jeter, Merrick, Mason, Savannah Lakes, Wilder, York, Duke, and Meridiana. Meridiana, we're breaking ground on right now. The board approved the construction dollars to move ahead. They approved the construction contract for Meridiana, and we've broken ground. It's down 288 south of Highway 6, and it'll be opened here in the next couple of years. But what's important here is that this column right here gives you a visual of the number of permanent seats that we have on the west side, elementary seats, 5,400. And so as you come across, you can see in these school years the number of children that we'll have on the west side in the attendance zones that are represented by these elementaries. You see here that the percent growth, we were talking earlier about the percent growth across the district being about 4.5% going forward. But at these elementary schools, you see that it's significantly higher there in the 6% growth. This line right here indicates how many vacant seats we have in each of these school years. And for most of these school years, you see we're in the negative. We are at 100% capacity, and that's even with Meridiana coming on when Meridiana is delivered in 2016 and we open those seats. That does include Meridiana's seat counts, that we are at 100% capacity. The difficulty with 100% capacity is there's no room for those children who are arriving day in and day out. Every day we enroll new children here at Alvin ISD. This is a graph that again, just identifies what I just spoke to, the blue being our capacity. With the opening of Meridiana, we're just a little bit above what our enrollment is, but you see that enrollment continues to go up, so by 2016, 2017, elementary enrollment will be exceeding capacity. This is a graphic that identifies the portable buildings, the temporary buildings in Alvin ISD. We currently have about 51 buildings representing 102 classrooms across the district. This shows you a representation of where those are located. And again, they're not a permanent solve, but they are something that we use to bridge the gap until we have an additional school built where we swell into them and we shrink back out of them when a new school is built. The intent is that they are temporary and they're not long-term. What I think is important for everyone to understand is that a temporary building with 2 classrooms costs the district $144,000. Again, that's a temporary building, and so we still have to build that permanent capacity. So we spend $144,000 when we have to add a temporary building in the district, and we still have an obligation to build the permanent capacity as well. So it's kind of like we're having to double up, and it would be better to invest those funds in permanent facility as opposed to temporary. The challenge to keep up with the growth is something that requires us to be looking forward and look out, because what you see here is that, and what I wanted to identify with this slide was that when the taxpayers choose for us to build an elementary school and approve funding for such, just for an elementary school, it's 16 months worth of construction time, plus permitting, plus building design, plus land acquisition. So the total process is not something where, when we're charged with an elementary school, we can deliver one tomorrow or the next day or the next year. It takes 2.5 years minimum in order to be able to deliver an elementary school.
All right, thank you, Pat. Well, as you mentioned, and this slide alludes to, November of 2013, the community did approve a bond election here for Alvin ISD, and we took that as a direction from y'all to get moving. There were a lot of projects that was identified in there, and we'll speak on what we've been able to do with those projects since you gave us our marching orders. Maybe. That one there. Gotcha. Meridiana Elementary School, identified in the 2013 bond as elementary number 16. If you go back and look at the actual bond referendum, as Pat mentioned, it is in Meridiana, the subdivision of Meridiana, which was tops on that list of potential homes as for build out at about 5,500 homes. We did receive approval from our board at the February board meeting, which was just last Tuesday. We are breaking ground on this just this week and moving forward. It will open up in 2016. Oh. All right. The floor plan here is a floor plan that we've built twice before. Mark Twain Elementary School as well as Red Duke Elementary School is a similar floor plan, but as we do anytime we recite one of these, we give it its unique identity, and then we meet with staff and administration prior to during the design process to see if there's any improvements that we can make. And if you're familiar with the other 2 campuses, when we do open this campus up, you will notice some improvements or some modifications to the inside that we feel will align with the instructional model that's being used now at the elementary level. Number of students, it's got a capacity of 800. Stantec is our architect for it. Dramala Construction is our construction manager, who was the same contractor that built Duke Elementary, so we feel that there's some synergy to be gained in that relationship there as well. Building size, about 102,000 square feet. Construction budget, little over 17.5 million, and we came in at 17.4 million. That has been a very big challenge, I will say, with this bond, with all of the projects that we've got here. We hit the market at such a time in which it is a very expanding construction market, and it has been a challenge to keep these projects in budget, but we feel that the team that we've been able to put together, and with collaboration from everyone, we're real pleased with where they've been coming in at. Like I said, we just broke ground on it here, opening August 2016. Nope, I'm trying to move to the next one here. Well, let me, I'm going to go back just for a second here on this. To the left, I don't have, give you just a little bit for here. Right here is County Road. It's, they just recently changed the name, Iowa Colony Parkway. It's County Road 48, south of Highway 6, just east of Sterling Lakes. This back here will be the County Road 56 that will take you out to 288. So giving you a reference as far as where the actual campus is. You've got a big city park that is back here. We feel that there's going to be quite a bit of synergy in building right next to that city park and having some shared amenities, and then a very large community center that is back in this corner right here. So we're very excited about this campus and the site location for it. Bill Hassey Elementary, it was listed on the bond referendum as Longfellow Elementary, a project that's been discussed many times over through the bond process. And as Dr. Gilcrease mentioned, we had a groundbreaking ceremony just a few weeks ago in which the board approved here a few months ago to rename Longfellow Elementary to Bill Hassey Elementary, who was the first principal when that campus opened. He was a district administrator and a superintendent here in the district, so we're very proud to be a part of a project that carries his name on it. It is on House Street, just a little bit east of our administration building, and it is the a floor plan that you'll be, for those of you that are familiar with York Elementary, Wilder Elementary, and Savannah Lakes Elementary, it's a very similar floor plan, but as I mentioned earlier, we did change it around a little bit to give it its own unique character. That's House Street, right through here. Tovey Road there. Some of the project details on it. You got about 96,000 square feet, 800 students, which will be a net add of just a little under 200 students to our capacity from what Longfellow Elementary presently has. Construction budget, same as what it was on elementary number 16, or Meridiana, $17,594,000 and some change. Construction budget, a little over $17.1 million. This one came in. We had our groundbreaking ceremony just a few weeks ago, so we have begun construction there. We did have to demo the Longfellow building, which took place, and abatement took place previously, the previous month, and they're demoing the slab now for this one here. So there again, August 2016 opening for Bill Hassey Elementary. Manville Junior High School. This is our sixth junior high school. It is located just to the north side of Manville High School. This was the one that when y'all said go, when we got approval in November of 13, within a couple of weeks, we had the drawings on the street, we bid it, and we hit the ground running. This was the very first project. Very aggressive on our schedule, and it is one in which Duratec is our contractor, and Stantec has been our architects on it. It is a similar floor plan to Rodeo Palms, Fairview Junior High, and Nolan Ryan Junior High. But just as in the elementaries, we did meet with staff, and we have updated a few of the features within the campus. There's a site plan there, as you can see. It's to the north side. This is the football field at Manville High School and the baseball field, and we were able to place it on available land that we had just north of the campus. It'll have all the amenities that our new junior highs do with the football field and the track, and all of the campus amenities associated with it. Project specifics on it: 1,000 student capacities, as our junior highs are nowadays. Building size a little over 174,000 square feet. That's just a little bit larger than what we had on Rodeo Palms due to some modifications that we made on the inside of the building and picked up some additional square footage in the building. Construction budget, just shy of $29 million. We came in at just a little over $27 million for the actual construction of this campus. We started in January of 2013. We're about just shy of 75% complete. We'll move in this summer, be ready for August 2016. So that one is on schedule. Alvin Junior High, renovations and expansion. This was the oldest junior high in the district. It had about a little over 135,000 square feet when we began. Final build out, it'll have right at 172,000 square feet. This is a major renovation project in which we've taken and added several areas to it in order to bring up the amenities and the programs to match what we're doing in a junior high of 1,000 students throughout the district nowadays. But we've got a whole 8th grade wing back here in the back that we hope to occupy in April of this year. You've got new administration and band hall and a new stage area. We've taken the library, there was some courtyard areas, 3 courtyard areas at this original design. We've incorporated those into instructional space. We almost doubled the parking space on it, and then brought some of the amenities out in the for athletics as well with a new tennis court. We've expanded their bleacher capacity at the ball field as well. This one has been done in phases with SPWV as our architects and with Stewart Builders as our contractor. And some of the project specifics there, again, we'll be going up to 1,000 student capacity, a net add of just under 280 to our junior high capacity within the district. Building size, as I mentioned, about 172,000 square feet. Construction budget of just under $18 million, and we came in at 21.2. Some challenges with this one here. It was a renovation. We were over budget on this one here, and the board allowed us to go ahead and write a contract at this amount right here with some of the savings that we have seen from some of the other projects. So net add, or when we're done with all of the bonds, we still hope to be within our budget over the total amount. But this one had some unique challenges. We ran into some code issues with the city of Alvin and some of the things that we had to apply for code as far as rewiring the whole building, bringing the entire roof structure up to newer energy standards than we had originally allowed for, and the sprinkling throughout the whole building as well. We began back in May of 2014, a little bit more accelerated schedule than what we had listed originally in the 13 bond referendum, with the goal to still open in 2016, but as you can see, we hope to beat that a little bit. We actually accelerated our construction schedule to allow us to take advantage of this past summer and get some work in through phases when the kids were not in school. So time November of 2015, we hope all of the phases to be complete, 30% right now. So the guys have a very aggressive schedule going forward. Shadow Creek High School, a very large project that we've been working on. We actually started design in about February of 2013. Land and design was provided for in the 2009 bond. As soon as the bond in 2013 was approved, and we had our marching orders that we knew that we would be able to have the funding to build it, then we marched on with the design with SHW Group Architects. Gamma Construction is our contractor. Located there at Broadway and Kirby. Just a few of the details. It's a very large campus here. If any of you are out on that side of the district, I'm sure you've seen the construction taking place. Broadway up here, Kirby here, which the city of Pearland is fixing to go through a expansion project that we've been working with them on since 2011, knowing that this campus was coming along, for them to implement the expansion of Kirby and have it finished prior to the opening of this campus, and they've been great partners in working with us on that one. So that one's fixing to bid here very shortly. But you'll see all the athletic fields to the east of the campus to minimize the impact on the neighborhoods around here with the lights that go along with athletic fields, your campus proper, student parking, your visitor parking, staff parking, tennis courts is the only thing right there up next to the neighborhood, and those are not lighted. So we feel that we try very hard to be good neighbors. Some of the project specifics: 2,500 student capacity, which is our typical high school capacity. Building size, a little over 530,000 square feet. Construction budget, just over $93 million. We came in at just a little over $90 million. Very excited that that one came in where it was. The market was it was expanding, we should say, and with HISD, some of the projects that they had going, we were very afraid that we would, this one might turn out a little bit different. So we were very excited when we took bids to find out that we did meet our budget challenges on this one here. Began in February 2014. This was a phased construction. The third phase being the main building that we started in April. Opening 2016, and we're just a little over 30% complete as of this past week. CTE Center. This is several pieces to it. In the 2013 bond, what we actually had as a bond referendum was the money to design the CTE District Center. There's not money for construction for the district center, but there was money to design it. And once we got in, this CTE, the whole CTE program has been ongoing for probably the last 3 years now, in which with House Bill 5 coming and a lot of the challenges that are coming up to be able to offer alternatives to the kids, our board did take an opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and click through a couple of these slides here. There we go, I'll stop. They took the opportunity here several months back to go ahead and appropriate some fund balance so that we could kick in a phase of this CTE Center ahead of waiting for a future funding that would actually build the main campus. The decision was made to build it at the former Manville Junior High campus on Lewis Lane. This first phase that we're talking about is right here at this gym, in which we are going to implement an auto collision that the board appropriated funds for. We actually started on it here just a few months ago, or about a month or so ago. And it will move the auto collision program that's presently at Alvin High School. It will move it out to the gym. Like I said, construction began just a month or so ago, just getting kicked off. But that is, the funds for that were not part of the 2013 bond. But this CTE Center that you see here in the back, that is the design of the main CTE Center that will service the whole district. We're looking probably between 800 and 1,000 students that it would be designed for. And we are in the process with PBK Architects right now designing that facility. Our goal is to save this piece of the structure right here. And here over the next few months, you'll see as that design process moves forward, you'll see the final product as we continue to develop that. But as you can see, the auto tech and collision, it's scheduled to open up at the end of this summer to where the kids, it would be available for them as well. There's also a Luke Kennedy at Alvin High School. There's a piece of CTE that we will kick off. It's wrapping up design right now. We'll start construction on it in May of this year. They're at the vocational building, the Luke Kennedy Center there at Alvin High School. That is another piece of the board's goal to implement and give our kids a lot of choices as far as CTE. Godwin Ag Center. This was there again on the 2013 bond, in which we would give the kids at the Alvin High School ag program, another project center, as well as an area in which we could have district shows and district auctions, and a large group assembly space that they can utilize for the instruction of the ag programs for the whole district. This has a lot of the components that were also included in the Booth Ag Center that we built here off of Lewis Lane a few years ago that serves the Manville High School kids. This here is in the construction document phase right now. It's located on right there at the corner of County Road 284 and 190 by Fairview Junior High School. Fairview Junior High would be located over here. This is County Road 190. This is County Road 284. Very close distance to Alvin High School. We feel that the kids would be able to get to it on a lot quicker basis to be able to manage their projects. It will be bid in such a fashion to where there'll be several alternates to where the board will have the option on bid day to prioritize some of the features that would be there as far as what we make and accept. There again, with construction being the way that it is and the prices being what they are, we are bidding it in a fashion to where we can give the board options to get it in budget. A little over 26,000 square feet. The majority of that is open space. It'll have a show arena in there that's almost 6,000 square feet with bleachers that'll seat a little under 300 for those opportunities in which they have auctions and shows. Construction budget, just shy of $3.7 million. Contract amount, we're unsure yet. We plan on bidding it. The documents will be done in March. We'll bid it in April, and we'll go to the board for award in May. So we're coming up on that very closely. And then the opening, we've got February right here. It's actually March of 2016 during the spring break. As soon as the Houston show is over, then they would roll over and move into this facility right here. Security vestibules, there was a line item in the 2013 bond in which there were 10 campuses that were identified, in which we went through and enhanced the security features in the front vestibules when you walk in. These are a few of them that represent, many of them had very similar floor plans. One of the larger ones was Harvey Junior High, in which totally took it and flipped the whole entrance. Used to, you could come into Harvey Junior High from 2 areas. Now you're limited to come in from 1 area here. Each one of these creates a positive interaction before you can move within the campus. You have to be buzzed through the doors. So that was a project that was began over this past summer and has been completed to get those security vestibules. There were other pieces of it that have either been totally complete or is in the process of getting wrapped up, and that's with the security fencing and surveillance cameras and some of the new PA systems that are being placed in various campuses. There again, 10 schools. We did bring this one under budget. A little under $1 million was our construction budget. I think it was about a $3 million total line item on the bond referendum. But we did bring these in a little under budget, and as that says, 100% complete. Land purchases, Future Elementary, Pomona. We purchased a site there in Pomona, which is just a little bit north of here, off of 288. Purchased a site for a Future Elementary there. The bond referendum had land and design for an elementary number 17. We put a number on it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that where that elementary is going. Don't get too wrapped up in the numbers along with the actual elementary site. But we did purchase a site in Pomona, and we do have money from the 13 bond referendum for the design of that campus. We purchased a site down in Sterling Lakes, an elementary site there, which is down south of Highway 6 off 288. There's money in there for a Future Junior High, number 7. We have not purchased that site just yet. And there's money in there for a district stadium, natatorium, and a West Side Transportation Satellite Center, as well as the design of those features, and we have not purchased those just yet. I think the next one is just a wrap up. It's been a very busy 13 months. As you came in, and I invite each of you to look at the storyboards on the projects out there. It's been a very busy 13 to 15 months since y'all said go. This represents, other than that ag project, we pretty much bid everything, a little over $173 million worth of work that we've been able to bid and start construction on since y'all said go back in November. But there again, there's your wrap up right there as far as completion. I won't go through each and every one of them again, but at the appropriate time, if y'all have any questions, just let me know.
It's been quite a busy time period since the last bond election, and we just wanted to give you feedback on the directions that you had given us, and so that you understand. Hopefully we've listened and listened well, and we followed through with everything that we were asked and directed to do from the 2013 bond election. So the elementary schools that we have future land sites for, the junior high future land site, those locations will be driven based upon the demographic information that we received to show where the velocity, where the fastest and the most highest growth is going to be occurring in the district. And so they also, the Citizens Advisory Committee previously so chose and recognized the need, as I showed you earlier, the timeline for getting these schools on the ground and ready to go for these kids is quite lengthy. So by giving us the ability to have land and some land purchase early, they gave us opportunity to be prepared for these next schools so that we can respond a little bit quicker, and also that we can begin buying some land in some of these high density, high growth areas at a price point that's as cheap as possible, because I'll tell you what, all of us wished we had about 50 acres here on 288, if you know or priced any land recently. And so we've kind of hogged the microphone. I'm going to give it back to Dr. Gilcrease, because it's all about you folks and y'all's wishes and the direction. So I hope that this has given you a peek at some of the things that are happening here.
So that kind of tells you the projects that you don't see. So now what I need to hear from you is what do you want us to also to go investigate? Are there particular facilities that are existing right now that you want to have specific information about? Or do you need more information about some of these? You don't have to say it out loud, but if you can, or if you want to, you can email us or write it down on a piece of paper on your way out. So.
Why aren't the schools built larger? It looks like they're at capacity when they open up. So instead of having elementaries built for 800 kids, why not build them for 1,000 kids?
That's always a tricky question, because I'm looking at the architects to make sure I'm answering this correctly. But there's a point where the size of the property needed and then the amount of space in a building for the core facilities gets to be so large to meet that number of kids. And then beyond that, it becomes an educational issue at some point when you have that many elementary kids on one campus. So 800 is kind of that number that people use just because it's a full-size building, you know, but it's also not, it just doesn't seem like it's 20,000 elementary kids on one campus instead of, you know, because once you crank over that 800 number, the amount of bathrooms, the amount of hallways, the amount of cafeteria space, the amount of kitchen space takes on a different level. Now, all that being said, if it's the pleasure of the community for us to build 2,000 student elementary schools, then absolutely. You understand what I'm saying? But I mean, we want to do what you want to do, but there's some thought that went into choosing that number. Same thing with the junior high number, you know, somewhere around 1,000. I don't know if there is, you know, but you get over 1,000 junior high kids in one place, and oh man, somebody's earning jewels in their crown at that point. So, Okay?
How we can make use of that. I see $4 million to purchase land for the next, for junior high 7. Do we have land already?
We will get that information and bring it to the first meeting, and so we can have identified the property that we own, and we'll show where all those are, and that's a good question.
You had a slide right in the beginning that showed the 6 or 7 elementary schools that were almost at capacity or over capacity
Yes.
to start with. Is that something the Citizens Committee is going to have to address as well? Or is that something you just put out there because you know you're going to address it?
Are you talking about boundaries?
No, the 6 schools that were over capacity starting 2015.
Yes, that's one of the questions we're going to ask you to help us address. Is this a boundary issue? Is it a facility issue? You know, which way do we go about addressing that?
Okay, so if you want us to address that, I'd like to know why we are at the numbers that we are at when we just did a rezoning last year.
We will bring that demographic information to the next meeting and have that presentation for you. I'll tell you one of the reasons that, and this is just off the top of my head here, but we finished last school year with 19,680 kids, and this past week we went over 21,000. And so, you know, from May of 14 to February of 15, that's 1,300 additional students.
With the new junior high, that you upgraded or did different things as opposed to what Rodeo Palms has. What exactly did y'all do that's different?
There were some cosmetic changes and some changes to make some large group instruction areas. So like in the main hallway that's open at Rodeo Palms, if you go in there, when you go in there, you're going to see that it's been cut to where the upper part of that is a large group instruction area to gain some of that space, and then some other areas we stole just around to make.
Where you came in at Rodeo Palms, and the offices that when you first walk in the library are right there to the front, we moved them to the back, to the sides, I should say, not really to the back, to open the front of the library up. That was another one. Extending the deck, as Dr. Gilcrease mentioned, and create a collaborative flex space up on the 2nd floor, and one other little corner collaborative space over on the 7th grade wing. So nothing major, but there again, we picked up some usable square footage that was in.
Every time we recite and redo a plan that we have a big set-down powwow session with the architects, with the administrators, the teachers, and the folks who are using that floor plan already, and we go through a whole scenario of what's working, what can be improved, what's not working, what do we need to edit. So we go through that each and every time. So that creates a little bit different character and some nuances that one has that the other didn't. All the basic components of education are there and duplicated in. But we did take an opportunity to capture some space that was inside the existing building envelope this time.
Kind of like building a house. You know, when you get into it, you think, boy, I wish I would have done this differently. And so when we recite, that's what we do. We see some things and say, you know what, wish we'd have done this differently, so we're going to do this.
I'd like for you to tell us in the future meeting about fund balance so that we can make a recommendation on cash and debt and how we utilize those two.
Certainly. Be glad to do that. Go ahead.
Some of the data that I'd like to understand is we've seen demographics on students, but I'd like to understand some of the demographics on the families. For example, median household income, education, the price of the homes, because I think that does feed into the decisions as to how you plan and where you plan facilities. For example, someone earlier mentioned that it's from furthest point to furthest point, 31 miles to drive across. And I'd like to see from a bird's eye view, where is that line that's halfway, so that we can determine how much longer will people on the west side of 288 tolerate House Street. I'm just tossing that out there. So when we talk about planning facilities and all administration activities being so far east, I'd just like to understand the predicted lines for when is that line that half of the people are on this side and half are on that side, and every year does that line inch further towards the Fort Bend County line, and if so, then are there considerations for 10 or 15 years from now for administrative type activities shifting with that?
Sure,
Do you
absolutely.
understand
We'll
the
bring
data
that.
I'm looking for
Yeah,
here?
we'll bring the best we can get on the demographic and that information. Some of that's going to be old because we're going to have to rely on census for some of that. But we'll bring what we can for that. Absolutely.
Hi, just kind of coming off the earlier point of the properties that are already owned is one of the things that we can think about because of where the growth is. You know, it may be that we don't anticipate needing that land 10, 15 years outside. Will we look at selling it now? Or is the plan to just sit on everything for the foreseeable and not so foreseeable future?
Absolutely. That's you know, from my perspective, looking at with some fresh eyes, just looking at the growth as it's coming. The one thing that I think is really awesome in some of the plans that have gone on with other committees in the past is you don't want to overbuild schools, because there is a point where then that population in that neighborhood doesn't have children anymore. And so then you're back to, you know, Fort Bend ISD is going through that now. I don't know if y'all know that, where parts of where they built all those schools and now they have empty schools. And so, you know, there's a fine line. And so, you know, do you hang on to the land? Do you sell it for the profit right now? That's a hard question to answer. But y'all are up to it. Y'all are up to answering those hard questions. So,
can we talk more about the rezoning? What are the qualifications if you want to stay at the school that you're not zoned to? How do you go by staying there? Or when do you rezone? Can we talk more about that?
We'll bring some of the zoning. When Mr. Wells did the high school boundaries, some of the things that they did was actually bring the demographer here and show how when you move a line, what that does. And so we'll be glad to do that. Rezoning is one of those things, honestly, kind of like a speed limit. At some point, you just have to draw a line, you know. And so, but up to that point, I think you just need to have all the conversation you can have up to that point, and then just make the best decision.
I'd like to see some data also about our sports facilities. I've heard things like we always have so much crowds coming into our games that people that want to buy tickets can't buy them. There's not enough room for graduation ceremonies anymore because our stadium doesn't have the capacity and so on. What I'd like to see is what are our neighboring districts doing in terms of stadium facilities, natatoriums. What do they have for how many students? Do they have one stadium per high school, two per high school, per student? Whatever that ratio may be. I'd like to know what our neighbors are doing, neighboring ISDs. And that's for everything, for a natatorium, for a stadium, all your sports facilities, basically.
Yep, we will gather that. I just want y'all to know that y'all have asked the two scariest questions for a superintendent: sports facilities and central office space. So, not that my knees are shaking up here, but it's just all right. So,
welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
We have a lot of the growth comes pain. So my question goes back to when you talked about some of the questions you want us to answer around facilities. Is it facility related? Is it boundary related? I also would like to know that as we come together in these meetings, that you have some information for us around you talk about the growth, and there was an additional 1,300 kids that came in. Were that from new homes, or people are just signing their kids in? Because a lot of the problems that we're seeing on the west side are people want their kids in the school system, and so they're hook or crook, they're trying to find a way to get them in. I have an elementary student, and I'm just seeing that that particular school, the new Duke school, was really scheduled to have a little under 800 when it opened. We have 862. And so, you know, that's because people want to be in that new school and they want to get that in. I want to know, as we look at these and to be able to answer these questions, are you going to be able to provide us some information on, I know there's a procedure you have that you have to show proof that you live here, but how do you guys find a way to make sure that all of those things are really checks and balances to help us balance out that extra 1,300 kids? Are you telling me those are all brand new homes, or people just moved in, or they moved into apartments? Just trying to figure that out.
Yeah, we have started the process of looking at those students who are transferred in on what's called a power of attorney. I think, Kevin, we've identified 360-ish. Is that where we are, Lori? 360-ish? Just over 300. And so we're in the process now of going to actually verify those residences so that we can make sure that everybody that is enrolled is a student. And we can bring you an update on at our next meeting on what's happened up to this point. Sure. Sure.
I wanted to know, for the Manville Junior High that's opening next fall, is the rezoning from Rodeo Palms to Manville, is that already complete?
Yes.
Where would I find that information?
I believe it's on the website, but we can get that to you other ways as well if you'll let us know. So, yeah.
And part of the rezoning, I know that does take into consideration growth. So were you saying the 1,300 extra, is that over what was expected, or what was over what was expected? Because we do, I mean, I was part of a zoning committee, and we do accommodate for some growth, and it seemed like, so what happened was that it was just more than we anticipated?
That was just a straight subtraction. That was just a straight taking where we were on that day and subtracting where we finished the May before. That was just for illustration purposes only. So,
but and that draws the question the young lady brought up again about the number. I know the numbers work, and that's what we've had, but our schools are getting over capacity already, and we're having to put in, and he shows for one building $144,000. So the cost of building another school, I mean, I just think that's something that we should consider, look at, maybe like she's talked about other districts. Are all the districts 800 elementary schools? You know, just something, because we keep having these overcapacity in schools. And I mean, that was gonna be my question too, and for the junior highs, I mean, we have all these schools, and then we have these lockers, and kids can't use the lockers. So we're opening, and we have all these students, and I just wonder if that was ever looked at, just kind of looking into that, and what are the numbers, and what do other school districts, is it the same number?
yeah, one of the questions earlier, what we're going to do is we're going to pull some surrounding school districts and just show what their average size is for elementary, junior high, and high school, and we'll be glad to do that and gather that information. That's a good question.
You said earlier one of the things that hardest questions is about sports. Is there a reason we can't move to a league system and attach the sports from the schools so we don't have that issue? You understand the question?
I'm not sure I totally understand the question.
Is there a reason we can't have the sports detached from the schools and use a league system so kids from different schools can be on the same teams? So it doesn't matter which school they go, but if they're in the district, they can be on the team?
We can absolutely do that as a community, but they would not be eligible to participate in UIL activities at that point.
Okay.
They would have to find other leagues to play in.
Gotcha.
With the construction of the new high school, I'd heard that they may expand some of the FFA functions or programs and expand the barn here at Manville. Is that still ongoing or not?
It's a topic of conversation about expanding and so really what we got to, for those kind of programs, you kind of got to see numbers, the actual numbers instead of projected numbers. And so with both of the ag projects, there's expansion available the way they were built, but we kind of need to actually see the numbers reflect that. And that's not just ag. There's several different programs that are in that same. We need to see the program numbers before we can make those decisions.
I've served on the committee before, and one of the things that came up, and it came up in the bond committee too, was this problem out there that exists, and I'm already starting to see it now in the west and east side. Even though it says Alvin Independent School District, for folks that live in Alvin proper, we need to understand that we also encompass the whole area out west, so we need to look at it as one versus we versus them. Or none of this is going to work. It's going to create problems. So it's a very unique situation where you have a district that starts on the very far east and all the growth is out west. Yes, it'd be perfect. In a perfect world, we put the stadium in the center. We put the administration in the center. It'd cut down traffic on my street because I live on House Street, so that'd be great. But, that being said, knowing what is going on, what has been going on, and then hearing the conversation, we need to make sure that we look at it for the students of the whole district, not just what serves our particular area. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point. So fresh eyes coming in, looking at this, and here's what I see that I think is unique about the district as a whole, is that y'all are sitting here serving on this committee today, where the growth is all on the west side. But if you look at the projected Grand Parkway coming around, and when it comes through in those years, there's going to be the exact opposite at that point, and there's going to be another committee sitting here with saying the exact same opposite of what you're saying. And so I think it's vital that we keep that it's just a matter of timing of what we're having the conversations about, because when that comes around, it's going to be the exact same conversation again. So.
Okay. Listening to the conversation, I work in a school district where there's 50,000 students, and some of the questions that you guys are asking are things that we've gone through years past. Someone mentioned today about how come we can't build maybe larger high schools. We have schools where 4,500 students are there. Now we're thinking about how can we build smaller schools. We have elementary schools sitting at 1,200 right now, and we're 400 over capacity. So we're trying to figure out how to make these schools a lot smaller. I think listening to what the district is talking about now with the capacities as they sit is the way to go. This is based upon years of experience. 25 years doing this in an urban district that is really busting at the seams. Someone talked about transfers. We deal with transfers in and out. There are certain laws, though, that dictate how you can allow someone to stay or not allow someone to stay. And at one point, we had some very stringent rules about how to get into the district that will not stop them. There's an old saying, if you build it, they will come. They will figure out a way to get here. So because the facilities are so nice, people are going to come, and we are probably going to be at capacity very rapidly because of that.
What's the plan to deal with the schools that are already overcrowded right now in the near term, like Duke, for example? Is it temporary buildings, or are we looking at any rezoning in the near future? It's going to be a couple more years before some of these new elementaries are ready.
So the answer is yes to both of those. Temporary buildings. We don't have any plans for rezoning for next school year. Obviously, when the 2 new elementaries open, will be the year we get to have that fun of rezoning. And so, but for the near future, what you've seen is that the board has stepped up the last 2 meetings and purchased a total of 6 portable buildings. which ends up being 12 classrooms, and we'll place those around at different, five portable buildings. Yeah, I don't know how I got that. So 5 portable buildings, 10 classrooms. And as we watch and prepare for next year, if that's an additional need, that's what we'll do, is just try to adjust as rapidly as we can. And Pat didn't talk about this, but we have a lot of portables in the district that you saw, but most of them cannot be moved from the site that they're on. And so I hope everybody understands that because they don't meet the requirements for the new building requirements for portable buildings, the hurricane specifically requirements, we can still utilize them as long as we don't move them. But if we move them, then they have to be brought up to code. So it's catch-22. What do you do with them?
I just had a question. I know it wasn't on your little slide thingy, but I remember before they closed down the Old Manville Junior High, they were using I think it was an old elementary school across the street for classrooms or something. I remember them talking about they had to bus the kids across the street. What are y'all doing with that building, or is that just an empty building?
That's the Career and Technology Center. Mm-hmm. It's used now as it's the old Manville Elementary School. Isn't that what the plaque says in that part of that building? It actually from Manville ISD, so it was built in part of it, and then it was added on to, and that's where our CTE center is in there. That's where the cosmetology programs are presently. There are some construction trades, some advanced welding programs in there, and there's all kinds of computer repair classes taught in. So it's filled up with kids. I mean, there's a point where everything will end up being together, but until that point, that campus will be, yes, across both sides of that road for several years.
As the facilities planning committee, obviously whatever we want to do is going to cost money to the extent that it's not in the 2013 bond. Is part of our responsibility to talk about the next bond and when that's going to need to go on the schedule for being voted upon and being developed, or is that something that will come after this committee has concluded?
It will be whatever you tell us it's going to be. We have no preconceived notions about that. Obviously, the whole point is to answer some of the very good questions that have been brought forward, and hopefully at our next meeting there'll be even more questions. And so once we get to the end of our scheduled meetings, then we'll decide what our next steps are. So, yeah, here we go, right here. I feel like I'm in church. I see that hand. Yes.
Is the new sports, or the district sports facility, is that going to be a community facility similar to what Pearland did? Like Pearland ISD utilizes the community center, the natatorium, for their swimming events and other things. Is it going to be similar to that for our district?
Well, the only thing that's been so far approved is to purchase land for that. Okay. Now, how the design and all that ends up will be done in conversations with the community as to how much that will be included in that. I would hope, if you're asking my personal opinion, I would hope that it would be a very inclusive situation where there's a lot of things that are available on that one site, because in facilities like that, you end up, the more things you can put on the site, the more you get to share the parking. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have parking just for one specific venues.
I know we were told that Shallow Creek Ranch was built out, but I'm seeing construction for 2 new apartment complexes on the same street right across from each other, and there's a brand new community called Shallow Ridge. Are there any plans for demographers to go and take another look at Shallow Ranch to see that growth? Because it's kind of hard for me to believe that 2 apartment complex builders will say, we're going to build right across the street from each other and there's no more growth.
Within the limits of Alvin ISD, Shadow Creek Ranch proper, single-family residence is pretty much built out. There's a couple of small residential developments that are owned by other developers. Some of them may be some of the people who are partners in Shadow Creek Ranch, who are building there off of Broadway, this side of the Fort Bend County line, that have, and I don't remember the numbers, but small numbers of homes. And so they're on our register. We're tracking those and counting those homes. Shadow Creek Ranch itself does have some parcels that they're looking at for multifamily housing. The original Shadow Creek Ranch geographic area itself, originally, those weren't intended on their land plan as multifamily housing. It was a shift in social needs or social what they could sell and market, and so there are more multifamily homes, multifamily units development going in Shadow Creek Ranch than what they had projected 10, 15 years ago. And so you're seeing some of that happening going up. That will play into some of these sites that Travis was asking about that were in Shadow Creek. Based upon the number of single-family homes that existed there on their land plan, some of those sites, there's an elementary and a junior high, weren't necessarily needed to support homes and children in Shadow Creek Ranch. But with increased population density from multifamily housing, those same school sites are going to be looked at real hard as part of our planning, and the committee will look at that.
So there's actually a really fun piece of that coming, by the way, that you won't necessarily have to deal with as a committee, but there's that strip that's in Fort Bend ISD of Shadow Creek Ranch, we've heard that it's out there, and we actually got contacted for the other day from a news media person asking us, because apparently that group of parents has banded together, and so, gee, that'll be fun, won't it, when we have that conversation.
On future growth in our district.
Yes, and we've already talked to him about that, and then we, you know, the one thing I read the other day, somebody had an article out, and I'm trying to recall of where exactly it was, but that for the greater Houston area, even with the reduction in the kind of planned reduction in oil field related jobs, there will still be a positive net for jobs in this area, and especially with some of the expansion at Freeport with the port and some of the other things that are coming. And so I, like you, immediately thought that it would have an immediate impact. One of the good things it might have, actually, is that maybe the cost of metal will go down, and so, you know, if we can time that right with these two elementaries that are under construction, maybe we can win a little bit on material side. Okay, I don't want to keep you any longer, but I also don't want to cut off if there's other questions that you want answered. So our next meeting is on March the 2nd at Fairview Junior High. Food starts at 6:30. We will be in a little different format than this. We'll be sitting at tables and be able to get down to work. And we will start with bringing the information that you've asked us to bring. And we'll try to we'll try to group it together by like questions and put all those answers. And that's what we'll do is we're going to discuss that. With all the information that you've seen tonight, you'll have a chance to mull that over and get ready with any other questions that you have. So, anybody else have anything before we go? I don't know that answer. So we will do our best to put that together and get that out in an email prior to the meeting. You know, so what we can get done before then, we will obviously do. Some of it we may be waiting on other people, but we will do the best we can on that. Anything? The cost of maintenance for each facility. You want? Yeah, I mean, are you talking utilities? I mean, everything? Okay. Yeah, we'll try to put that in a format. You know, those kind of costs are hard because maintenance people come in and out and work on different facilities, so you know we don't always are able to just put them to both facilities. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Could you show how efficient maybe the utilities are in a new school compared to an old school?
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. So, yeah, it is a big difference. So, yeah, we can look at total cost. I mean, where we're budgeted for at this point, where the previous bond fell, and obviously give that delta, and then anything that we can get in between. I will tell you something's cool that I know our communications department is working on that I saw the prototype for yesterday. Is a web page that will take each of these individual facilities as they're being constructed and let you see progress and you know the total amounts as they're spent. So I thought it was really neat. They're using a nail as the graphic, so as the nail fills up, it'll show where they are completion wise. Anything else? That's okay. Yes. No, and that may be something good that we can just all refresh our memory on the two pots of money that we work with as a school district, the maintenance and operation money, and then the interest and sinking side. So we'll bring that, and then kind of what falls, Susan, into those things and how we classify that. But so, you know, orchestra, and then this is going to be my opinion on this, but anything that's short-term and/or consumable, which means instruments are consumable because they do reach an end life at some point, some sooner than others, depending on who it's checked out to, right? But they do reach an end life, and so those kind of things don't need to be in long-term financing. They need to be paid for out of maintenance and operation. Only those things. Very similar to your home. Only those things that you would put in a mortgage for a home need to be included in that kind of. But we can make sure that we spell that out as to what, you know, athletic equipment and all those things are paid for.
The multifamily that the other gentleman brought up earlier, has that been approved? Because I was under the impression the city was not going to approve any more multifamily in the Shadow Creek area.
I think that I understand. I know what you're talking about, but that happened after these two projects were already approved, and so the process had already started for those two projects.
I know in the city of Pearland, the Shadow Creek Ranch development had a certain number of multifamily approved in their PUD. They're nowhere near that number. So as a result, the city of Pearland has put a moratorium on building any other multifamilies anywhere else because there's so many going into Shadow Creek. Because they were pre-approved numbers.
She's got the right idea right there. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, y'all have a good evening. If I can be of any help to you, I'll be up here to answer questions.